Now that I've talked about the TLR-1 HL long gun kit, we're going to install it on my SBR. As you can see, installation is as easy as just loosening this up and sliding it on to your Picatinny rail and then tightening this down. I've chosen to mount the light on the top of this handguard, hence why my iron sights moved back a little bit. We'll see how well this works. The next step up with installing this particular kit is to figure out how you are going to use your tape switch or your push button switch, however you want to call it. Since the switch does include some two-sided tape, you could utilize that, or you could utilize some wire ties. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize these funky little connectors you saw me messing with before, and I'm going to put these on a 2-inch section of Picatinny rail, which I have mounted right here on the side of this Troy Alpha rail. And I did play around with this a little bit off camera to try and get just the right positioning for this. And since these items don't really slide on, I'm going to have to snap them into place, which isn't too overly difficult unless you're trying to do this while you're on camera and keep everything in frame. Well, anyway, these are rubber, and if you can get the right angle on these, you can just pop these onto place. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these off camera, because if I put the rifle in my lap, I can get a little bit more leverage, and then we'll come right back and we'll see. So these will just pop right on, and you'll just want to make sure that the curved ends are facing outwards, because those keep your tape switch from sliding. And you'll want to kind of do something like this to make sure that you're getting this lined up correctly before you pop them on. So this is the position I'm going to put these. I'm going to snap these in place off camera, and we'll be right back. Okay, you can see how I installed these. This one is pretty much flush with the end of this 2-inch section of Picatinny rail. This one's actually hanging off a little bit, and that's due to the actual length of this tape switch versus the length of the Picatinny rail. So with the Troy handguards, you either have the 2-inch rail sections, or you have the really long 4-inch, or is it 5-inch section. And I didn't really want the really long one on there, so I'm going to make this work with the 2-inch rail section. So now that it's lined up correctly, the only thing else we need to do is actually get the tape switch popped in. And if you start one end of this and then you push down on the other end, it should pop right into place just like that. So there we go. So a nice clean tape installation, or pressure switch installation. I keep calling it tape switch. Now we have this wiring that we have to figure out what to do with. So you can either do something like this. I don't know, I'm just kind of brainstorming here. I've got to do something with the excess wire. I really don't want to stick it on the inside of the rail, which means I'm going to have to keep it on the outside of the rail somehow without making it look completely out of place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with this a little bit and see the best way to do it, and we'll be back and take a look at it in a second. Okay, after playing around with this off camera for a bit, this is kind of the wiring solution I came up with for the switch. And it definitely helps if you are using like these squid grips. What I've done here is obviously I've mounted the switch using these little rubber mounting pieces attached to a 2-inch Picatinny rail section, and I routed the wire right down here, so it's tucked between the squid grip and the Picatinny rail. I routed it down this way, and then it curves up and it goes over the top and through one of the channels of the top Picatinny rail. To get it through this channel, you have to take the light off, run it through the channel, and put the light back on. So the light actually keeps it routed into that Picatinny rail section right there, so it's not going to pop out and move around. And I'll flip this around and you can see the routing from another angle. Okay, you can see right here how the squid grip inserts are kind of keeping the wire tucked up next to the Picatinny rail section. So no wire ties needed to get this wire routed. And we'll flip it over and take a look at the other side. Okay, you can see that the wire right here, it's a little bit tight running the wire through right where I did. If I ran it back further, I'd have a little bit more slack, but this keeps everything nice and tight. There's enough tension on this to where this plug is not going to accidentally pop out. There's no way, matter of fact, you can't even pop this out at all. So this isn't going to get snagged and accidentally popped out. I actually have to remove the light if I want to unplug this. So that works out good. If you're holding it, your firearm somewhere up in this type of position right here, none of the wiring, the switch or anything is in the way. So this is going to work out. At least it will work out for my needs. Flipping back over to the other side, and going back to the light, one thing I noticed, having the light mounted so close to this front sight base, you know, the switch right here for momentary off and on, I can easily switch to off and I can switch back to momentary. If I flip it on, it's a little bit more tricky to get to the switch, but you can do it. So even having it mounted like this, the way the Troy sights are scalloped, you've got easy switch access right here for off to momentary, which are going to be the two modes that I use. So when in storage in the rifle bag, I'll flip this to off. That way, if the switch accidentally gets pressed or something's laid against my rifle case, the light's not going to come on, and then it's easy enough to flip that over and then get the light re-engaged. So that's going to wrap up the installation of the TLR-1 HL long gun kit review and installation. I've already covered the small little nuances that I didn't particularly care for. They're not deal breakers. I still give this light kit 2 thumbs up. 630 lumens is a lot of light to have on your gun, and it's got a very broad pattern. If you were doing room clearing, no problem lighting up the entire room with a light. And that's about all I have to say.